Welcome everyone to another Tracks on Sundays. I'm Tracks and Max, and this is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're gonna star someone who has appeared a couple of times in my episodes. We've spoken about Dude quite a lot actually, specifically on the champion chases, how you can actually get some extra points in those. But the question is, that dude on the far right over there, Broadmaw, is he actually, worth building out? Or is he just points and tournaments? And that's what I wanted to talk about today with you guys because, well, it's all good and well that you actually get this guy for free, but does he do anything? Is he useful for your account? Why would you fuse him other than points in a summoning chase or a champion chase, right? So I went and tried and build some teams where I think he might be useful for you if you are mainly a new player. That's the thing with this champion. He is more or less specifically for very early players. If you're very early in the game, like a month in or something like that, he's going to be very useful for you, okay? Like if you're only a couple of weeks in and you are able to fuse Brogma, he will be useful. But there's a big but here, uh, and not the good kind. uh, he, in my opinion, he requires specific gear sets to actually work. His kit isn't really built for early game friendly. I'd say. I'll go over that in a second. What his abilities actually do, and what I feel like Plarium should have done with him instead what they did with him. But that's a different. So right here you're gonna see I was doing dungeon 20 here, dungeon 20 ice golem. You're gonna notice the run is very long. That's mainly because I didn't bring a defense down in this team. But I don't know if you can see it, but there's an armature here, which is an uncommon. This is a Vrask, but this could be any healer. I just took a Vrask because that's the one I have built. But if you have a different healer built on your account, that could be that guy. That's the only reason why he's there. This is Kale, starter champion. If you didn't pick Kale, I would suggest a poisoner in this spot for this comp. This doesn't really have a purpose here. It's more of a flex thing than anything else. Um, this should probably be that defense down, but I don't have a War Maiden at 60 yet, and I wanted to try and make this as um, free to play and early game friendly as possible, because that is, I think, where Broadmaw shines. Once you get Seal of the Drakes, he will fall off immediately. Um, Even though he does different things in Seal of the Drakes, he won't be useful for you that much anymore. Um, but yeah, let me show you the rest of this run real quick. So I turn it off for a second for you guys. If I could discuss what we're doing here today first. So, like you can see here, like this is a uncommon, uncommon. Your starter champion. This could be any healer. I mean, like apothecary or whoever you have to your disposal. And then we have the Broadmaw star of today's show. Now, this isn't a fast run at all. I did pause the game with a, well, I let the game run a little bit longer than it's supposed to, but I'd say the run was still about 7.5 minutes. Again, if you take this one out and make that a defense down champion, the run will be way faster. But what we want to show today is why I think Broadmaw is actually pretty decent for you to fuse if you are starting. Well, first off, you can get these champions pretty fast. What you should do if you want to do this, however, in your very early game, is you want to put your defense, put something very, uh, put put like one-man defenses in here, and not hard things, but just like simple things that people are gonna mass mass attack, right? Even if you're in bronze one, whatever, doesn't matter. Do that. You'll be able to get those things in a bazaar. I can't do it here because I already did it once. And if you do it once, you can't get these fragments anymore. Where are they? These. Can't get them anymore once you've done it. Just, I don't know. Kind of stupid, I think. But um for someone like I said, I think if you're like a month in or something and you're looking for some kind of support, I think Broadmaw is pretty good for that actually. This ability right here places 30% crit rate and increased speed for 2 turns and fills turn meter. That's a nice little thing to have early game. This is arguably worse than Apothecaries because Apothecary gives the 30% increased speed, but you shouldn't underestimate this because this crit rate will allow you to just build your champions more for survivability, and you could possibly build them with 70% crit rate, or just build them out the way you want them, or you can get him for the moment, and he'll come in and he might make sure that, if you're only reaching 80% or 89% and you're not quite getting there at the 100%, he fills in the gap here with a 30% boost. So don't write this off as something that's not useful, because it is useful, especially early on. But the main reason why I think he's really good is because in the early game, having a reviver is it's first off, it's hard to find, and second, it's almost impossible to find if you don't really pull one that revives 2 allies at the same time, right? You can find a couple of single revive champions here and there in the rare section, but finding one that revives 2 is actually pretty good. And the A1 honestly does help out in waves. It's not a huge chance, 45% when booked, but freezing an enemy champion can really help negate some of that damage that's coming in. If one of them's frozen, that one's, skipping their turn, so they're not doing damage that turn, or nasty debuffs or whatever. So this can come in handy. I'd say especially this comes back once you get far into faction wars. You're going to really, really love this ability because it's going to be very helpful to try and lock down some of the champions, specifically things like Valkyrie, for instance, which can be very annoying. But yeah, that's his kit, and he has a defense up 33% for faction crypts. So in general, he's just an average champion in my opinion. But he does do something specific that is not very easy to come by in the early game. However, he does have a serious problem. What is this problem in his kit? Well, if we go look at it again, this gives speed and crit rate. This revives 2 allies with a block damage buff, which is really nice, by the way. Helps get them back on their feet, right? So they don't take incoming damage and they might actually get a turn again. And then a freeze on the A1. Now, there's something huge lacking on this champion that you really, really need when you're going into dungeons. And that's something I've talked about in the past. While a lot of content creators are talking about speed and accuracy, well, you need survivability as well. If you're not surviving to get anywhere, it doesn't matter how much accuracy you have, right? You can have 1,000 accuracy if that were even possible, but you got to get to the point where you need to be. Now, you could say that, okay, for faction crypts, he does bring in ally defense for 33%. That's good, right? Yeah, that's fine, but that's not really helping you that much in terms of keeping your team alive. It helps a little bit, but what you really need is healing. And it's kind of weird that they didn't put, like, I don't know, a small heal, even if it was just like place a continuous heal on himself and someone else or something like that. Anything would have been better, really. This freeze is fine, but it's just doesn't really suit his kit, you know? Um, at least that's how I feel about it. Now, if you do want to use this guy, in my opinion, you can't just put Broadmaw into any set that you want to put him into. I found by testing this on several accounts that the only real way you can run a Broadmaw is if you give it its own sustain. So what do we want on our Broadmaw to make this possible? Well, we want something like this, right? Regeneration, so that he regenerates himself every time he takes a turn. Ideally, you would want this faster as well, if you could get him faster. So the more turns he takes, the more he heals. But he is putting up a small speed buff on himself, so that does help. But yeah, a decent amount of HP, decent amount of defense. I'd try to get a little more speed if I was able, a little less accuracy. I just used this guy in faction wars, and I think that's why he has a lot of accuracy. I'm not completely sure why I built him this way when I did, but mainly the part you need to know is try to make him fast, try to give him some kind of regeneration. If you don't have a lot of regeneration, which I can understand because Fire Knight is actually pretty hard in the beginning, try and see if you have any immortal sets you can toss onto him, right? Like if you can get like two of these sets and maybe a speed set to get his speed up, something like that. Just have something that sustains himself so that he doesn't have to 100% rely on a healer to keep him alive. Um, so you really need something like this on him. Another option could be if you would happen to have Guardian gear already, even at 4-star would probably be okay for at least maybe stage 20, but up to 20, I'm sure you'll be fine with 4-star gear and Guardian if you can manage to find that. That also heals himself by 10% every turn and absorbs 10% of the damage taken by the others. Now, if you do go Guardian, you will have to build him way more tanky than this. Probably if you go Guardian, you do want something like maybe Resilience to go with that, or an Immortal set to go with that. Though that'd probably be great. And you have like the nice HP boost to go with that, and a 3% heal as well. But something in that order, right? Just make him fast, make him kind of tanky, and give him some kind of regeneration type effect. And that's where I think Broadmaw will shine for the early players. Now, you might think, well, Jackson, what about lifesteal? You can put him in lifesteal, right? Well, you can put him in lifesteal, but he doesn't do much damage, and he also doesn't really take that many turns hitting. So he only has three turns, basically 3-turn cycle, where one of them he's doing this skill, and then two he's hitting. But if someone dies, he's using one of those to do this, the resurrect. So basically he's only hitting once if someone dies, and only twice per cycle if your team's all alive. Which with lifesteal you're not going to get there because he just doesn't do enough damage. You're gonna have to rely on masteries. You would have to rely on like a War Master and a War Master proc to actually get enough HP back. And I mean, he's just not a hard hitter. Okay, so it's not. I wouldn't recommend lifesteal whatsoever. If you really don't have that much immortal or regeneration, I would try to probably go and find something like Stalwart, so that at least the AoEs don't do as much damage. but he probably won't be able to keep himself alive if you do that. So if you can, just try and get at least like a double immortal set with a speed set or something on it, or like this here. Perception is nice as well because it gives a little bit of speed, but also a little bit of accuracy, so you can utilize the A1 a little bit. Later, like I said, later in the faction wars, this is actually very handy. It's just in the early game when you are able to fuse this pretty well, relatively early, this ability doesn't really do that much. I'll go ahead and show you another run. So what we just saw was this right here. I'm only doing I only showed level 20 here and not further. I think I could make a team for this stage as well, utilizing him. I don't think he's good enough to do an example on stage 25 because by that time you should actually have better champions to your disposal. But if you're like very early game and you're trying to work your way up through these stages, I mean, if you can do 20, you can do 17, right? So that's why I tried him on stage 20. I did this stage earlier, stage 25 with this team right here. This is a little less free to play already, but it gives you an idea of what he can bring to the table here. So in this team, we have Frask again, which again could be any healer, but I just chose Frask because I have him built. Physics is also a free champion, but if you have a Physics, you probably have Silva Drakes, and if you have Silva Drakes, you would probably use her. Even if it's Force Affinity, she is better than Broadmaw. So this was probably a bad example looking back at it. I'm not sure what else you could use here. Maybe like a Gnarlhorn or something like that. That's a rare champion that also has a provoke. Something in that, some kind of crowd control, right? Or someone who stuns or freezes, perhaps. So a defense down, nuker, healer, crowd control, and then Broadma just coming in for the resurrections and speed and turn medium boost, right? And even a little bit for the crit rate, because I don't think these champions are crit capped or anything. So, I mean, a little nifty bonus there, right? But for this example, I'll go here and I'll try to see if we can make this a little more accessible. I mean, I guess we can try this guy. I'm not really sure how well this is going to go. 2 level 50s. Kind of a push here, but we'll see. But yeah, so Broadmoor here, making everyone faster. Not a lot, but a little bit. That was lucky here. Like, this little speed boost made sure that he had his unkillable right in time, right? Not the fastest run, but I mean, hey, you got 4 rares here and a Broadmaw, right? And 2 of them are level 50. I mean, and his boots aren't even leveled up or anything. So there you see the freeze again. The freeze on the A1. But it does help sometimes when he gets it off, but let's see here. Okay, so he boosts here and make sure Gnarlhorn is right on time for the unkillable. And yeah, just slowly chip away at this. Now, what we are missing here for the boss is an attack down, I think. So we're getting through the waves pretty decently, I'd say. I mean, given the champions we're bringing aren't that Maybe I spoke too soon. But here again, you see the freeze is kind of, is nice. But in this spot, you really would have preferred to have like some kind of healing, I think. So I think they kind of missed the potential for Broadmaw here. I mean, if you're gonna put this champion out for early game users, give him a heal, right? He's a support champion. We don't want him to be doing debuffs. We don't really even want accuracy on him. I mean, you do if you want to utilize him to his full potential, but that's kind of like the problem, right? Like, I'd even go so far in saying that if you're a very new player, don't even worry about the accuracy on Broadmaw. Just make sure that you can get that regeneration type thing going with good HP and um good HP, with good defense, and with good speed, so that gonna help them here a little bit. Get this apothecary out of the way. So you've seen him pick up the champions a couple of times already. See here again, and he does so with a nice little block damage buff, which you saw her go down in one hit after that. But if she didn't have that block damage, she probably wouldn't have even got the defense down afterwards. Yeah, it's, like I said, it's not the fastest run, of course. We're working with very, very basic champions here, but you're able to do it with a Broadmaw. Um, do you need Broadmaw for this? No, probably not. But I, I mean, I think you've seen a couple of times how he's been able to pick up a couple of champions again, and keep the run going, even though we have like level 50s here chilling. Of course, our Grinner here is also doing some work as a reviver, but well, if these were built better for the case and they were level 60, uh, I'm sure you could replace this with something else if you needed to. Like an attack down here would be nice as well. I don't know, something like a Coffin Smasher, for instance, if you're looking for a good rare to do it, or forgot his name. There's a rare.
It's me. It's me, you idiot. It's me.
Force affinity, the Lizardman that also has it on the A1. But yeah, right here you see he's picking everyone back up. Boom. There they are again. Now he's even picking up Grinner again. And there you go. Two rares, level 50. Grinner level 60. Your starter champion, which should be level 60. And yeah, so is he worth fusing? I think he is. I think he is. If you're early game, I think he's worth fusing. Yeah, I don't want to make this a 30-minute video either. I just wanted to show that he does have some potential as your speed booster and your reviver, but to do so, you will have to put him into those specific sets. Without the sets, I don't think he's going to be useful at all because, like you saw in the Dragon Run, for instance, his life total wasn't really ever in danger. That's also because there were some champions that had less HP, the level 50s, get targeted first. But I mean, that's fine then, right? Because he can pick them back up. I actually cleared Lizardman with 2 copies of him, one at 50, one at 60. Cleared a couple of these crypts with what I like to call the double reviver. What is a double reviver? Well, it's the reviver 2 times that can revive 2 champions. This is really handy in the final boss stages where the boss will pick one champion and just smash it down. If you have only one that can only do one at a time, yeah, you're not really getting anywhere with that, right? Because if you pick one up, the boss will smack one back down, and you can't revive them fast enough to keep doing that action over and over. But if you're reviving two at a time, and you have two of these revivers that can do two at a time, they can pick each other up and they can pick someone else up. So that's the tactic that I use for the Lizardmen as well. Anyway, yeah, so if you're a new player and you're wondering, should I fuse Broadmaw, yes or no? Well, first off, yes, you should for the champion chases. Gives you lots of free points that can help you get, nifty rewards during these things. Energy, XP boost, books eventually. Can help you finish these fusions. And he's actually a decent support if you have the required gear for it. Then I'd say yes, go for it. I hope this was a little helpful for you guys, and well, hope you guys have a nice weekend. I'll see you next week. Peace.